All right, let's jump right in. For years, there's been this prevailing myth in the tech world, kind of like a comforting security blanket we've all wrapped ourselves in. The myth? If you use a Mac, you're inherently safe from malware. Well, today, we're going to look at the hard data and officially bust that myth wide open. We're unpacking a really sophisticated threat called FlutterShell and looking exactly at how attackers are actively targeting macOS systems. I'm super excited to guide you through this explainer because understanding the nuts and bolts of these threats is literally the best way to protect your business. Real quick, before we dive deep, please hit that like button and subscribe so we can keep bringing you these deep dive explainers. Okay, so I want you to really think about this for a second. Are your online habits actually dangerous? You might think you're totally secure because you don't visit sketchy websites or, download pirated software. But what if I told you that the absolute most mundane online searches, the kind you and your team are doing every single day, might be exactly what compromises your entire business infrastructure? I know it sounds like science fiction, but it is happening right now. Okay, let's look at the roadmap for today's explainer. First, we'll cover the macOS malvertising threat. Then, we'll deconstruct FlutterShell itself. Third, we'll walk through their 3-step infiltration playbook. And finally, proactive defense strategies. Section 1. The macOS malvertising threat. This is where online ads literally become malware. So to really understand this threat, we have to look at the delivery mechanism, malvertising. And honestly, this isn't about some hacker in a hoodie breaking through a firewall with brute force. It's essentially a marketing campaign for malware. Cybercriminals are dropping cold, hard cash to buy top-ranking ad spots on major search engines to promote fake, malware-infected applications. Just imagine someone on your team doing a quick search for a totally legitimate productivity tool, right? Maybe they need a new PDF reader to review a contract or a podcast app. They type it in, click the absolute first sponsored result that pops up, and bam. Without even realizing it, they've just made your network the next victim. Moving on to Section 2, deconstructing FlutterShell and what's known as Operation Flutterbridge. Now, what's genuinely concerning here is the sheer persistence of these threat actors. Cybersecurity specialists are tracking this specific group under the name CLCRI 1089. And according to data from Palo Alto Network's Unit 42, these guys aren't just flash-in-the-pan amateurs. They've been actively releasing and evolving new payloads since 2023. They've basically been refining their craft for years. And this all culminated in August of 2025 with the first stage of this attack chain, dubbed JS Core Runner. That was basically the opening salvo in the massive Operation Flutterbridge campaign, paving the way for the FlutterShell malware we're dissecting today.
All right, Section 3, the 3-step infiltration. Let's look at the playbook.
This is a straight-up modern-day Trojan horse situation. Let's break down exactly how they're slipping past both Apple and Google's multi-billion-dollar security nets. Step 1, application creation. The attackers build these malware-infected apps, but they actually sign them with valid Apple developer IDs. That is absolutely crucial because it lets them bypass Apple's stringent notarization checks. The Mac literally thinks it's welcoming a trusted friend. Then, Step 2 relies on those malicious ads. But get this, they don't just buy ads. They use Google-verified shell companies, making the malware look incredibly legitimate in search results. Finally, Step 3, the infiltration. That downloaded tool, like our fake PDF reader, looks and acts completely normal to the user. But because it operates inside Google's legitimate Flutter software framework, FlutterShell can execute malicious commands completely invisibly right there in the background. And here is where it turns into an absolute nightmare scenario. Once that silent infiltration happens, the back door is officially open. At this point, the attackers have devastating remote access control. They are inside the house. Using this backdoor, FlutterShell can force your web browser to open attacker-controlled sites. It can run shell commands on connected devices. And, arguably the worst part, it can quietly steal your company's highly sensitive data. And the crazy thing, the user has absolutely no idea it's happening while they're just sitting there trying to read a PDF. Which brings us to Section 4, proactive defense strategies. Here's your blueprint. Okay, your absolute easiest, most effective first line of defense, it boils down to outdated macOS systems versus automatic updates. It sounds so basic, I know, but running the latest version of macOS and keeping your apps updated fundamentally patches the exact vulnerabilities this malware exploits. Literally, if you take away just one immediate action from this explainer today, go make sure automatic updates are toggled on across your entire organization. It's a simple flip of a switch that blocks countless threats. Next up, I want you to really scrutinize the app permissions on your devices. Ask yourself, Does a basic note-taking tool really need access to your camera? Does a simple calculator need to read all your files? No way. You've got to stay highly selective about the permissions you're granting. Hidden macOS malware absolutely thrives on over-permissioned apps. So, take 5 minutes today to just review your settings. Locking down unnecessary access shuts down potential avenues for abuse before something like FlutterShell can even try to use them.
But look, software settings aren't everything, right? Because human error is still a massive driver of data breaches. So here's an essential cybersecurity training checklist for everyone on your team, from the new hires right up to the executives. You need to train your staff to recognize and dodge phishing scams. Mandate two-factor authentication, 2FA, everywhere possible. Make it a hard rule to avoid public Wi-Fi for company resources. Build a culture where reporting suspicious activity is encouraged, not punished. Keep personal and work devices totally separate. And of course, never, ever download unauthorized software. Period. So, bringing it all together, our source material hits the nail right on the head with this quote. Invest in reputable endpoint protection or antivirus solutions designed for Apple systems. Native security is great, for sure, but relying solely on it just isn't enough anymore. Specialized endpoint tools are specifically built to detect that sneaky, suspicious behavior we talked about earlier. They isolate potential threats in real time and alert you instantly. That adds an absolutely vital extra layer of armor against complex, multi-stage attacks like Operation Flutterbridge. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final hard-hitting question. Is your business truly prepared? Because the reality is, this macOS malvertising campaign, it's just the tip of the iceberg. As our reliance on digital tools skyrockets, the attack surface is expanding right along with it. These threats are out there, and they're hiding behind completely legitimate developer IDs and sponsored search ads. So stay proactive. Arm your team with the strategies we've covered today and secure your systems before it's too late. Thanks so much for tuning in, and keep learning.